I have no internet right now. My cat is really pissy. Really pissy. She's almost 20. Perhaps it just comes with age. I have no internet, but I've just had my new fiber line hooked up, and I'm excited for that. I think I can just tap right into it and not use any kind of Wi-Fi. They've run it to my house, but not to the inside yet. My hotspot is out. I paid the bill, and it has not been recharged. It's been over 24 hours. Thumbs down for AT&T. So how to make a video without internet? I guess we'll try. Thanks for being here, and welcome. So how to make a video without internet? What if we had no internet? I feel like up until my 20s, I was just fine without the internet. But I don't think I'd make videos. I wouldn't be interested in the old ways of making and distributing videos. Certainly we'd all lose a lot if the internet was shut down today. But having spent the last at least 48 hours without internet, still having it on my phone, I feel like I would be just fine. I spent all day doing house projects, and I feel like I have enough for the rest of my life. I was supposed to shovel the poop out of the chicken coop, and I didn't. I'll have to do it tomorrow. And I am the controller when it comes to the chickens. They might even view me as the controller. And I watch them all day when they watch me. And all they do is eat all day. Eat, eat, eat. And for all they know, that's their only purpose. Seems like it is, just to eat. Morning till sundown. Eating bugs, grass, all kinds of things. I don't even know what they eat. They're just always pecking and eating. And once a day, each chicken lays an egg. They don't lay on the eggs. I don't even know if they know that they're supposed to lay on the eggs. I usually snatch them up within a day or two, and yet for me this is the most important thing that they do. What to them is probably the least important. Probably similar to having a bowel movement to them. Not quite like giving birth, even though it is a type of birth. And for me, part of my sustenance, along with my pets. And really all they need to do is eat, mindlessly, and they serve me very well. And I serve them. I give them shelter, water, and food. And I think it's similar to us and our controllers. A lot of people think they want to wipe us out, but I don't think so. I don't think that would benefit them. I think just like the chickens, we serve them just by doing what we do. And what we do is authored by them. They write the script. They write the history, which justifies the present program. And as long as people run this program, there's no need to wipe out the population. But if the chickens were to stop laying eggs, or hiding their eggs, the controller may consider another breed. And are we just another breed? It seems like there have been so many versions of man when we look at history and lore of past. Certainly the giants, but also tiny creatures, tiny humanoids. And when we go way back in the beginning of the Bible, we have a story of a people that are enslaved by the Egyptians, seemingly a less superior race, just the slaves. And is this history? Does or do the religious text or texts count as history? Is this the beginning of our history? Now, if we are using the Bible, this is the beginning. Of course, as far as civilization is concerned. Not talking about Adam and Eve. Of course, in Genesis, they briefly talk about giants. Briefly. And then we find ourselves in Egypt. The characters, or people, are slaves to an oppressive bunch of rulers or controllers. God chooses a leader and instructs him on how to free himself and his people. And it works. And these people are wiped out, the oppressive controllers. And we see these controllers. We see these statues of the pharaohs and different figures. And they don't resemble the people that are there today, many times having elongated heads or skulls, and just a different breed. And I'm sure the conditions in this terrarium change from reset to reset, and I'm not just talking about smaller localized resets, but the big ones. The red to blue sky, the flipping of the plasma charge, and I believe this big reset eventually breaks the ice off the dome. It comes crashing down all over the realm. Massive, massive vibrations of frequency and releasing of pressure that would sound like the trumpets referred to in the Bible. And then we have the red sky. All the waters have settled. The dome is ice-free, and you have a vaporous environment. And we've looked at old Gallica images and old texts showing giant vegetation, giant fruits. And this would also be conducive to all creatures growing in larger ways than experienced in this harsh environment or cycle that we're living in. The oxygen would be much richer, and again this vaporous environment would act like a greenhouse, and there would be no seasons, and things would grow to enormous sizes. And it's my belief that the favorable cycle is a longer one than the latter, perhaps up to 1,000 years. Allowing a civilization to thrive, as we see evidence of. A civilization could accomplish a lot in 1,000 years. But in this cycle, everything is cheap and disposable, and perhaps it's because they know, the controllers know, most quality infrastructure is built underground. Maybe I'll look at my notes. I was thinking that parapets might have been used for docking airships. Just an idea. Most often the parapet is up high, and always a feature, even on the spires, little parapet sections that the end of an airship could rest in as a docking point. A lot of these towers that seem pointless, like the towers of Bologna that I talk about so much, just have staircases in them. If we look at the inside of these towers, they're just stairs, leading to the idea that perhaps these random towers found everywhere, now called monuments or whatever, could be docks, airship docks, with flights of stairs leading down. Still seeming kind of primitive, I don't know. Maybe they had elevators, or something else, some kind of pneumatic system. I really want to talk about the West, and just make a video on the West. A lot of people ask me why don't I talk about Europe, and I do and have, but I think it's not as good of a case. Now, I think it's the same. I think the story is the same in Europe as it is in the Americas. But because the Americas, particularly North America, is so new compared to the rest of the world, we are told, and considering that the West is the newest in North America, I think it's the best case to make. When we see this exact style being built in the 1850s in towns in the West that seem to have been built by the same hand as the stuff in Europe, or even the oldest stuff in the East, and really, as we've come to find everywhere in the realm, then we have something. We have a good case. We have a case that the stuff in Europe is not as old as they may be telling us, and also the stuff in the West is older than they are telling us. I briefly mentioned in my last video something about boron, or borax, being used as a power source. 1 tablespoon of boron and hydrogen will power a home for a year. And where does this come from? This comes from the work of David Lapointe. And David Lapointe has made this power source. And it's very interesting because in our community, this research of David Lapointe has led to our understanding of how our realm works and how the resets work, the shape of our realm, how plasma plays a role in it. And I've wanted to talk about this forever. I find it so ironic because this guy doesn't even either know or believe in this theory that has been produced based on his work. Here it says Hubble Space Telescope, and he's a space believer. He thinks we're flying through space. And yet, he is responsible for this theory on what our realm may actually be. And I don't think he's given enough credit. But like I said, he's not even subscribing to this theory that has been based on his work, or actually just a byproduct of his work. I don't think he cares. I think this is just a byproduct, and it taught us something. Originally, from my understanding, this was realized by the Brian Austin Lambert channel. At least that's where I saw this. And I think his videos are still up on his channel. And I think he does a pretty good breakdown of all of this and makes some kind of sense. I've been wanting to talk about him for a while. I don't know if the rumors I've heard are true, but I think it makes me think about how we are our own worst enemies. He had good information, but he was presenting it in what I felt was a poor way, shaming and mocking the viewers, it felt like. And then even worse, giving you 90% of the story and charging for the last bit. What he stressed were the important parts. Charging up to $300, I believe. Charging for what he believed was the ticket to survive the reset. Eventually he disappeared and left his members hanging. Made a few posts about how the end was about to transpire. And I don't know what the truth is. I am just an inquisitive person. What I heard is his girlfriend overdosed at a party, and then he took his own life. And my point is that we're our own worst enemies. Here, the expert on surviving the reset was his own worst enemy. And again, I don't know if it's true. let me know. But my point is, so much of this man's work has been used to understand our realm and the reset. And here we can see the reset taking place. We can see the flipping of the plasma charge, and then boom. And in a way, I really recommend this man's work. And I really love the almost free energy machine that he's created. But I think there's a big missing part to this research. There's a big gap where this guy, like I said, is not on board with the idea of a plane. And yet I think the way this reality works is truth moves through us. And whether we're aware of it or not, I think truth can happen on accident, and does. But clearly the work of Brian Austin Lambert was flawed, and the reset did not take place when he said it would. And I think, like the Bible says, nobody shall know the hour. I think the cycle happens when it needs to. A release of the pressure, a way for the system to regain its equilibrium. This realm is the ultimate free energy system, and this, I believe, is a replica of it. I also believe the work of Walter Russell and his motor is based on the dynamics of this realm. A lot of great work with the FPV Angel group on Walter Russell's work. And like I said, the creator of this machine says with 1 tablespoon of borax, one could power their home for a year. The studio agrees. Here we can just look at a few screenshots that I took, giving us an idea of the magnetic flow. And my concerns are that nobody's bridging the gap between this man's work and our work in this community. And perhaps somebody is, and I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And this is such poor resolution. But clearly this is the eye on the dollar bill, the eye above the pyramid. And I always thought it looked like George's eye. You can flip the bill around and it looks like George's eye, but here we get a nice close-up. I wish I had a better resolution, but it doesn't matter. What are they showing us in the eye? Deep in the center of the eye. In plain sight, but almost completely hidden. In something I'd never seen until recently. Could this be our realm? Could this be our crater? Could this be the outer ring and the labyrinth through it? We see a yin-yang type pattern, the dark and the light, just seeming like a lot of detail, perhaps a bit of truth for all to see. And I think that's how the greatest truth, or the discovery of it, will be. Just this sigh of relief and, of course, absolutely fascinating. But in the greater picture of things, perhaps unimportant, really. Again, super interesting, and I am absolutely fascinated with such ideas, but getting back to what I started this video with, escaping our grip of the controllers is the most important thing. Not giving them your eggs, not even residing in their coop or on their farm, not being educated by them, or really believing anything they have to say, not buying their products, or living their prescribed way of life. And perhaps we're at an exodus moment. And I'm sure a lot of slaves didn't leave. Were satisfied with their comforts. Well, I think I've ranted enough. If I get internet tomorrow, I'll add a bonus. I thank you for joining me today. I love you all. Do have a blessed day, and I'll see you next week.